And here we go. That's green. Okay, go team. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hawaii Board of Nursing. We're going to start with a video about how to participate in virtual board meetings.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras.
Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
Happy Nurses Week. Yay, we love nurses. Go team. Before we get the meeting started, some additional information about attending board meetings. So as you know, the agenda was posted to the state calendar. It is available there. As a reminder, if you wish to provide testimony on any agenda item, you can submit your testimony in writing to nursing@dcca.hawaii.gov or by hard copy mail to the agenda listed at the top of the agenda, to the address listed at the top of the agenda. We do request submission of written testimony at least 24 hours prior to the meeting to ensure it can be distributed to board members. For participating via internet, to view the meeting and provide live oral testimony, please use the link at the top of the agenda. You will be asked to enter your name. The board requests that you enter your full name, but you may use a pseudonym or other identifier if you wish to remain anonymous. You will be also asked for an email address. You can fill in this field with any entry in a standard email format. Your microphone will be automatically muted. When the chair asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chair will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chair, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you finish. If you're attending by phone with audio only access, when the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate that you want to testify by entering star and then 9 on the telephone keypad. After entering star and 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chair, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone's keypad. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you're finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 to remute yourself. For both internet and phone access when testifying, you will be asked to identify yourself and the organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If the connection to the virtual meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time to be posted to the board's website. Instructions to attend State of Hawaii virtual board meetings is available on the website at the top of the agenda. So this time I'm going to take roll call of board members. As a reminder for those of you who are attending board members virtually, please indicate if you are alone in a non-public location. I'm Carrie, I'm the chair. Hello, I'm here. Bradley Kuo.
I'm present.
Are you?
This is Bradley.
I can see you. Rebecca Moore.
I am also present.
Thank you. Jill Riggs, vice chair.
And alone.
Terrence Arbatani.
Present and alone.
Sherry Shields Hansen.
Hello.
Thank you very much. And excused at the moment is Darren Dunbar. We do have a quorum, so we will proceed. Okay, we're gonna start with the approval of the open and executive session minutes of April 2. I did provide non-substantive revisions to both the open and the executive session minutes to the executive officers ahead of time, totally non-substantive. Does anybody else have any changes that they would like to request be made? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes with the non-substantive revisions provided by the chair?
This is Bradley, so moved.
Is there a second? Rebecca, thank you for the second. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Thank you for that. All right, moving on then to the chair's report, agenda item number, are we broadcasting on Ololo, by the way?
No.
Okay, cool. Chair's report, just wanted to provide some reminders about upcoming events from NCSBN, the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. Normally, we don't pay attention to these things, but I think they're a good idea. So there's two upcoming events that I think are of note to the board. One is their NCLEX conference, and I forgot to write the dates down, but if you Google NCSBN upcoming events, you see a calendar of all of their events. But the two in particular I wanted to draw your attention to were the NCLEX conference, which seems like the predominant speaker. That one is going to be Joe Betts, who is their psychometrician. And if you've ever spoken to psychometricians, you know that they are like genius gems of human beings, and they're so dang smart. So smart. So you should definitely listen to smart people talk about NCLEX stuff. But the reason I'm drawing your attention to the NCLEX is because one of the things they're going to be talking about is we use the NCLEX as a marker of competence for new grad nurses, and they talk about how they demonstrate the validity of that gap between like you went to school and now you're in practice, and how the test is the validity of that. So recommend that as a thing if you're interested. The other thing I wanted to recommend is a scientific symposium that they're putting on. And so that one is, I think there was an abstract submission process for that, but they only do this about every 3 years. I went to the last one that they put on. It was great. The presentations are all virtual. It's online. You can see they're very polished. Lots and lots of stuff that's really interesting related to regulation and nursing education, the intersection of regulation and education. So it's just a really great way to kind of get a field of view about what's going on in nursing regulation from other places across the country. So again, you can see all their events on the internet. The only thing about that is that they're in Central Time, which means their stuff all starts at 5 a.m. our time. If you have nothing better to do at 5 a.m., that is not my favorite time of day either. So there's that. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. As a reminder, so this is something just as an FYI for nurses. The Health Resources Services Administration, also known as HRSA, is doing their, I want to call it periodic, but it doesn't actually happen on a predictable frequency. Their national survey, NSSRN, National Sample Survey of Registered Nurses. So nurses were sampled from the state of Hawaii. I don't know where they get their sample data from, like where they draw the sample from, but they sent surveys in the mail to folks. And so if you got a piece of mail and it was a survey from HRSA, that's how the federal government uses it. They use those data for workforce projections at the national level. So if you got that survey, it is legit. And so you should definitely participate if you got that in your, yes, Bradley.
Is this the survey that included the $5?
Oh, I don't know, maybe.
Okay,
Yes,
all right,
it did.
we'll work on it, but I just ignored it because I was like, what is this?
Yeah, they're paying you $5 for
Okay.
your information about your practice and whatnot. Yes, so $5 also. I didn't know that there was an incentive. Glad you got the survey. That's 2 of you in the room who got the survey. That's a trip. Okay, so there's just an FYI about that. Any questions or comments on that? Darren has entered the chat. Hello, Darren.
Good morning.
And then the last thing is another NCSBN thing, the spring 2026 regulatory body review of NCSBN exam items. So just as an opportunity for you folks, NCSBN recruits folks from boards of nursing to review NCLEX items. Again, this is part of the thing that they do to ensure validity of measurement, that there is a legitimate correspondence between what they're testing on and what is actually turning up on the exam as demonstrations of competence. And so if you are interested, you can, if you want to apply to NCSBN to be part of their item review committee. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that opportunity. Again, all that's on NCSBN. You might have to log into the member area. So if you don't know what your login information is, talk to the EOs. They're your passport administrators for NCSBN. And that's all I have to say about that. Any questions or comments from the board? Anybody wishing to provide public testimony?
There's no one.
Thank you very much, Julie. I appreciate that. Great. All right, we'll move on to our next agenda item. EOs, you're up.
Okay, so first thing is 4A, DCCA has updated its entire website, so that affects the Board of Nursing because they host all the board's application, publications and everything. So technically it was just migrated. But if for members of the public, if you notice anything is not there because we've been hearing there are missing links or broken links or links that go to the massage board or random different boards, please let us know and we can fix it. You can reach us at nursing@dcca.hawaii.gov. It's also on the agenda at the very end, and we can have our IT staff make those changes for you.
Have you guys looked at the website?
No.
It's pretty. It's got like a nice blue background, a nice travel sign. It's got tabs and stuff. Where's nursing? I can't even find nursing right now.
Yeah, so the best way to search for things is to actually use the search bar on top. That was the goal of this website. So that way you don't have to just click, you don't just click through the links. You can, the end goal is to be able to find everything by using a search bar. But yeah, as Adrian said, we are missing some documents, links to applications, the minutes, meeting minutes from the past. Some are there and some are not, so they're not very consistent. We're working on making sure everything is back on.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so weird. I just searched for nursing, clicked Board of Nursing, and it produced the literal list of the Board of Nursing, not the board's actual website. So there's that. So, but I think it's nice. I found it easier to find. So I have the Board of Nursing's website bookmarked because it's the Board of Nursing and I'm the chair because it seems reasonable. So when I use that, the website I think is nice. The education program information is a lot easier to find. I feel like the information for applications is a lot easier to navigate through. I was actually just looking at those resources, like, oh, look at these nice like checklists I didn't know existed, which maybe they didn't, but now I can see them. So I do think that there are significant improvements made. So yay for DCCA on that.
We're also happy to receive feedback, like user experience. Whether some things might be missing that we might have missed. So yeah.
Awesome. Any questions or comments from anybody on that? Public testimony on the board website, DCCA's website?
No public testimony.
You're next. EO, is that it? Oh, is that it? Oh, that's it. Well, that's a really exciting report. All right, do you want me to keep talking or do you want me to wait for you guys to finish confirming? Okay, all right, we're gonna move on then to our next agenda item number 5, which is reports from Hawaii Nursing Organization. That's fast. We got there fast today. We're gonna start with the Hawaii State Center for Nursing, Director Laura Reichardt.
You know what I said I was going to say.
Oh, that's probably a good idea.
I got it.
She wasn't ready.
Thank you so much for letting me present a few updates. My name is Laura Reichardt. I am the director of the Hawaii State Center for Nursing. Our updates related to state mandates, strategic plan priorities, and legislative actions are as such. We are currently fielding the Nursing Educational Capacity Survey. The survey assesses our local schools of nursing, including comparing our body of in-state schools to the NCSBN quality guidelines for pre-licensure education. Past reports are available on our website under our data and reports section. Our new nursing clinical faculty are able to request professional development in order to support their transition to clinical faculty roles. Deans have received forms to support these educational requests. We actually have completed the request for 2025-2026 fiscal year. So all of our nurse faculty have responded. We are very excited, and we still will be opening those requests for the upcoming fiscal year. Our upcoming free continuing education webinars will be on policy in May and APRN-owned businesses in July. And we are planning an NP conference in November in collaboration with our AANP state liaison and other members of the NP community. And I believe we have the president of AANP coming out as our speaker or as our keynote speaker. So that's very fancy. We are expanding our recruitment and retention efforts to support rural nursing workforce, and these efforts include residencies, nursing professional development support for clinical nurse educators, and supporting staff nurses to either move into specialty areas or become nationally certified so that the skill mix on units increases overall. These efforts aim to improve morale, capacity, and retention of nurses in our hardest to fill regions statewide, particularly our rural areas. And the resolution HCR 105 passed Senate HHS. I didn't check last night, but it should be going through the final motions by tomorrow. And this was the final committee referral, and we've started work to support this request.
Remind us what that is.
Oh, yeah, sorry. HCR 105 is the report to develop a repository of nursing professional organizations' recommendations on safe staffing, including strategies as well as ratios.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Can I ask a question that is unrelated to what she mentioned? Is that in the rules? Because I know we had to change.
Is it like tangentially related to her report? Yeah, okay, sure. I mean, I don't know what the question is, so let's ask the question first.
So, has the Hawaii State Center for Nursing done a postmortem with relation to the rule changes with the Department of Education?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking that. So the background of that is that the Department of Education federally just released rules on April 30th that says that the professional category of student loans, which enables somebody to secure federally federal loans, not private loans, thank you. So the Grant Plus loans is what they used to be called, above $100,000. In our state, about 30% of APRNs have student loans above that $100,000 criteria. So we do know that the APRN community, looking back, has relied on that type of loan. So moving forward, that we should look at an impact. We also looked at faculty. There was a smaller percentage of faculty, but still significant. And it was about 14%, I believe, that had that kind of like larger loan amount. And I would have to look at the documents. So we haven't done a postmortem. We should. I have been looking at other implications based off the language, the ruling that was provided. And I was going to communicate to some other state government officials related to that. I think there's a couple different options about how actions are moving forward, as well as when you say a postmortem, I think you need to look at the impact on the future workforce. We also have to think about the consequences to the community, right? So if we have fewer nurses, do we have an oversupply or undersupply? Like, do we care?
Yeah.
For these areas. For faculty, we have an undersupply. So I think I can clearly say, yeah, we care. For APRNs, we have an oversupply, but we have an undersupply of physicians. So I think there's some balancing that has to happen. And then I think the other implication is our ability for schools to deliver programs in a way that is financially feasible from a business perspective. So how does this change the business of education in our state? And we really care that, I mentioned we do the education capacity survey, but if our schools, for instance, need to increase their how will this impact their student cohort sizes? Will they be able to admit the number of students they need in order to run a program? So it also kind of impacts the business of education, and we pay attention to that because that's how people become nurses, is through higher education. So there's a couple different things we'll have to look at.
I'd be very interested over time to see if this causes any downstream issues related to the work that your office has done over the last several years with the kind of, not strategic plan, but was it a strategic plan? Strategic plan, yeah. Up to what, 2030 something?
2029. Almost there. Yeah, so our strategic plan does prioritize an enhanced nursing education because we see that as a critical success factor to having well-qualified nurses at the number we need across our state. We also have prioritized advancing nursing leadership. And I think, when nurses go into faculty roles, when nurses go into advanced practice roles, they are also assuming a leadership role in those ways as well. So, it does tie in a number of different ways to our strategic plan.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry to spring that question on you, but I knew that you'd be able to knock that out
Glad
of
I
the
had
park.
2 cups of coffee this morning. What happened if I only had one?
Is there anybody who wants to provide public testimony on the Center for Nursing's report?
No public testimony.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Director Reichart. We appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Up next is a report from the Hawaii American Nurses Association. We have with us today Denise Cohen.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Good, good, good. First off, I want to thank Laura for that presentation. I just want to go over some of the things that American Nurses Association is working on right now. And one of them is the profession in nursing. We have not stopped that battle. We are continuing to battle that at the national level. And we are looking at venues of keeping that open because, as we all agree, this is nurses are professionals. As president of Hawaii ANA, we represent over 500 active members and 17,000 licensed registered nurses, simply because we do the code of ethics, which is embedded in Hawaii state law. Some of the things that I want to talk about, and this is on the national policy, at the end of June, we will be attending ANA Professional Assembly in Washington, D.C. Some of the things we're looking at is staffing, safe staffing. This has finally come to ANA's attention because they did a survey. This is the #1 issue across the United States of why nurses are leaving the profession. They're suffering burnout. Some of them are feeling trapped in their position. They feel like they are unable to give unsafe care because they're just overwhelmed. And it seems we have a disconnect, and this is what we're talking at the national level, where we've got administration up here without really a clear idea of what nurses are doing on the floors or how the increased acuity of our patients is making it more and more difficult. We're seeing hospitals still staffed like it's 1990 instead of 2026. And what I used to tell my students when I was teaching, I started nursing in 1981. What we see on the floors today was in the ICUs in 1981, and what's in ICUs today would have been dead 45 years ago. And that's a reality that we're struggling with on how do we achieve that. So that's the #1 issue. #2 is AI. We know AI is coming. We've already looked at the issue of they're putting out AI nurses, and ANA has said that you cannot use the term nurse. That's legally protected. One of the physicians who was developing this said, well, when I call my medical assistants nurses, am I breaking the law? And we all said, yes, you are. So, yeah. Yes. So the AI tools, we want to get ahead of that because we know it's coming, but we also want to make sure it's safe. Third, on the issue of national issues across the things is bullying and violence in the workplace. That continues to be a national issue. I'm proud to say that Representative Jill Takuda and Senator Chats have all signed on to workplace violence. And on another note, Representative Takuda has also supported independent practice at the national level of APRNs, especially in relation to the state of Hawaii and the rural needs. And then finally, in this survey, higher salaries cannot make up for the poor work environment. So we're hearing from bedside nurses that the work environment is considered really poor. And this is a nationwide, like I said before, this was done, I don't know what the sample was, but we have 5 million members nationwide. At the state level, we are continuing safe patient staffing standards. Amy, you had some questions on the volunteer healthcare licensure waivers during declared disasters. I'm the one who has been pushing that. It came about from my work with American Red Cross. And I have to say, this last disaster with the Kona lows, we couldn't get nurses in from the mainland. They didn't have Hawaii nurses. So I was on call for 3 weeks, 24/7. I slept with a phone next to my bed, trying to manage 2 shelters that had primarily high-level healthcare issues. I'm on Maui and they're on Oahu. And that's why I'm pushing for this legislation that when the governor declares an emergency, we have the ability to bring in licensed healthcare professionals, just not nurses, licensed healthcare professionals from across the United States. This is based on a law that came out of Hurricane Katrina back in 2005, because there were so many healthcare workers who wanted to help and no way to vet them. So this law does take into account the Department of Health as the lead agency, because they are the lead agency for all disasters, for all declared disasters. And they work with organizations such as American Red Cross, AmeriCares, MRC, who actually have mechanisms in place to vet people. The allowance, yes.
Sorry, can I ask you to expedite your testimony? Can you come?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I'm going to say on that. Okay, then we're working with youth vape, tobacco regulation, pesticide exposure, student loan repayment programs, preceptor tax credits, and the Medicaid program stabilization. That's pretty much all I have to say.
We appreciate that update. Does any board member have questions or comments for Denise? Any member of, oh, Sherry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off what she said about it's not just acuity that has changed in the last 40-something years. It's the amount of charting that we are required to do each shift. I'm telling you, it is, well, you know, I'm not telling you all what we don't know, but I've got to say that's an avenue to helping nursing shortage. If we did not have to sit at that computer and chart every little box, I would have much more time to assess my patients. Amen. Thank you so much.
Gary, I just want to add, I used to dream that I'd have some kind of computer behind me that every time I said something, it would print it for me when I was assessing a patient. It just, yeah, the charting is overwhelming.
I mean, the technology is there. We got to leverage it, right? So there's that. So thank you for that comment. Does anybody want to provide public testimony on Hawaii ANA's report?
With testimony.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you very much, Denise. We appreciate your being here. Thank you for that update. All right, and that concludes agenda item number 5, reports. And we will move on then to new business. So I'm going to hand this over to the EOs.
So 6A, I think it's best that we discuss in executive session if possible, so we can confirm that's
Okay. So can we, mind if I take that out of order then? Can we do that when we go into exec later on for the applications? Are you guys okay with that?
So we make 6A just down with.
Yeah.
This is the updated continuing ed manual. As you all know, we have been following a continuing education manual that was
Continuing competency, you mean?
yes, continuing competency, which includes continuing education.
Yes.
For you've been the same one for many, many years.
Since
And-
2017, when the regulation first was born. As old as that.
And our predecessors did attempt to make some revisions, but it was housed, the revisions were housed in a second and separate document, so that caused some confusion. And it's been on my list to combine the two while updating the content itself. So now that I have Adrian, he put this together for us, and you should all have it in your packets. Anyway, it's very nice and pretty. very excited that we have everything in one place now, and we're just looking for your feedback and approval on it.
So I have a couple of comments. Thank you for this. This is an ongoing perpetual conversation for 8,000 years. Thank you for getting us across the finish line to a workable draft. I appreciate you tremendously for that. I had a couple of substantive comments in terms of the content. So where it previously was just the continuing competency manual, so it just focused on the continuing competency requirement, but there's information in here that is related more generally to license renewals. So I guess my question to the board is, what's your preference? Do we want it to just focus on continuing competency, or do we want to also call it a continuing competency and license renewal manual? Because if we just want to focus on continuing competency, I want us to remove anything that is related to renewals that is not specifically addressing continuing competency. Am I making sense?
Mhm. What was the perspective? This is Bradley. What was the
The
perspective?
intention is we update this. I know there were some issues maybe with keeping a date on the top.
Yeah,
because it means we have to keep updating it.
Yes.
I think we should keep updating it because every renewal, people are going to go onto my PVL and see, what do I need? Depending on my license, my specialty certification, what do I do to follow the continuing education requirement?
Yep.
Because nobody knows. I mean, I can say restorations volume wise are what we see the most of. 9 out of 10 are deficient. They're always deficient because people have no idea what to submit or what document they submit, when they submit it, always deficient.
I just want to note
Have to.
the emphatic nodding across that side of the table on that matter. So
They're
there's
trying, they want to.
right, they want to comply, they're just having a hard time.
So if it's up to date and it's renewal combined with because when they're doing continuing education, it's for the purposes of renewing.
Right.
So I think it makes sense to have the years and the renewal tied to it, but I'm open to whatever the board wants to do.
I also want to add that when we do the random audits each year,
Yes.
we get very similar questions about, well, what qualifies as continuing competency. Can I, like someone submitted a journal article, for instance, and he said, does this count? So because the rules are very broad and very ambiguous. So this is this operates more of a guide to show illustratively what counts as continuing competency.
Yes, so to facilitate the decision making around what does it count or not. Yep. So yes. So how do you guys feel about the broadly renewal information being considered there? Darren, do you have a thought?
Not about that.
Okay, then hold on.
Okay, Bradley, I have something tangentially related.
Okay, we'll get to the tangents in a minute. Board members, comments?
It makes sense. I think it looks good.
Yeah. No objection then. So can we change the title of the document?
Sure.
Reflect yeah, so we're gonna keep it, it's gonna do, so it's a license renewal and continuing competency manual. Darren has a better suggestion.
No. I just want to go on record to say education does not translate to competency. And so I have a concern about calling it continued competency.
That's what the law
Competency is an
says.
Assessment of, I get it, but even competency right here talks about the ability of a nurse to integrate. You can't tell that by them filling out a continuing, you know what I'm saying?
No,
This is a nurse midwife.
You're
Every
not
5
wrong.
years, I had the opportunity to take my midwifery certification exam again, or complete 8,000 modules that had tests
Yes,
to validate that I understood what was in that material.
yes.
So I'm not on a movement to change that, but I just want to say that in my personal, professional, and educational opinion, competency does not equal continuing education.
I don't think that that is a controversial position, Darren. I do think it's important for us to adhere to consistency with the language in the law. So maybe we should keep that. Okay.
You can also defer this until the next meeting, so you all have a chance to.
I think we have to, I don't think, so yes, what I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna invite an approval of this draft. So, because I think that there's some zhuzhing to be done. So we'll approve a final, but I do want to continue to have a conversation about revisions, substantive revisions. So we're gonna keep the renewal information in there, go team, change the title to reflect that. The other substantive change that I was concerned about is the conflation of the prescriptive authority education requirement for APRNs. Earlier on in the document, there's a mention of APRNs with prescriptive authority are not fully exempt from continuing competency. They are in fact fully exempt from continuing competency pursuant to chapter 457. The educational requirements for prescriptive authority are indicated in HAR 1689-123. I think is what it is. So it's a separate regulation. So I just want to make sure that we're not confusing those two things. So it would not be the case that if a person who had prescriptive authority decided not to renew their prescriptive authority, that they would then have to do continuing competency, right? That's so I just want to make sure that we're talking about them separately. So I have comments. I have comments in the draft. So related to that, is there any dissent on that perspective from the board? You guys are like, I didn't even notice.
Correct.
You're welcome. I think that was the only other kind of substantive remark that I had. So we feel good about this, yeah? Okay, so what I'm gonna, if you guys have comments, please provide them to the executive officers. I'm gonna provide my draft to the EOs as well, so that they have that, and then I don't know how long is it gonna take you guys to respond to revisions. I don't wanna like rush you guys to put it on the next agendas, the next meeting's agenda.
I think, yeah.
Reasonable?
That's our goal, is to get this up on the website.
Money. Okay, so I will send you my feedback today, and then we will have a conversation about approving a final draft at our next meeting. Go team.
One more.
Yes. Oh, yes, Darren. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Hey, thank you for putting this all
Oh,
together.
there was one more.
It's all in one thing, but one of the certification organizations, American Organization of Nurse Executives, it's been American Organization of Nurse Leaders for several years now, so.
Oh, yeah.
You want to change that to align with what actually.
Would you send that to them in an email so they don't
Of
forget?
course.
Thank you.
Great, that's why we need your expert eyes on.
There was one other substantive change. There's we refer to national certification as both an exemption and a way to fulfill the requirement. You can't do both. It's either an exemption or a fulfillment. It's an exemption that's specified in a different section than the learning activities. So the guidebook actually talks about the certification as a learning activity option. So I think we should remove it out of there, and it should be focused under exemptions. And then everything that's listed as a learning activity under the statute should be focused there.
That's a good point, because we do get those clarifying questions. The wording is confusing.
I mean, functionally, they're kind of. the same.
Yeah, you're right. In practice, they are interchangeable. You are correct. Yes, but the law calls it an exemption. We call it an exemption because then we don't want to confuse people. Any comments from the public on this?
I have one quick comment.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clip Laura Reichart again. I just wanted to comment on Darren's mention of continuing ed versus continuing competency.
Yes.
With the Center for Nursing convened the Continuing Education Joint Advisory Committee from 2010 to 2012. And that work that included the Board of Nursing, it was a collaborative, big interprofessional, or not interprofessional. Many nurses were involved in this activity. But there was a distinction that continuing education did not lead to competency, which is why the initial legislation focused on competency. And that's why the many activities are not only continuing ed. So CEs, it's not the only activity. If you're doing research, if you're precepting, if you're going through a residency, if you're doing evidence-based practice, all of these should be demonstrating you have competency. And that's why it is not continuing education alone. So that was a specific consideration by the nurses who were involved in this policy process. Just wanted to give a little history lesson.
Thank you for the backstory. I appreciate that.
How many of our nurses in Hawaii carry certifications?
About 30%. Fun facts for you. That's a good question. Any other comments from the board? Wonderful. Thank you very much again, executive officers, for this work. We appreciate it tremendously. All right, moving on then to item number C.
Okay, so this is 6C, discussion and possible action regarding delegation of application review to board member. So we already have existing RN, LPN, APRN board members that can do those outside of the board meeting.
Yep.
This is just discussing whether a board member specifically for education, when there's a quick question about a transcript or something that looks a little funky, they might not require the entire education committee review, just to expedite review. You don't have to wait for a bi-monthly. Right. Do that. But one of the things I want to mention, I think it's important, is that it's not required by statute that we have an education professional on the board. So it's not the most future-proof delegation.
Yeah.
Plus we have a bi-monthly meeting for this reason. This is just more of a method to expedite the application review process if we feel that's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to the board. But if something looks strange, if we do delegate education to a specific board member, they can always do what the board members do that have authority for RN, LPN, and APRN and bring it to the full board meeting. It's just an option if it's a quick question to give them the authority to deal with it outside of a board meeting. But it's up to the board. I can go either way.
This is Bradley. How often does that come up?
I would say now that we have a more clear-cut process for the Nightingale applicants, less often, but maybe once or twice a week, something will come up. It depends on when they graduate and come to us sometimes too, but I would say once or twice a week. Because we have a huge backlog of the people that continue to take the exam based on the old version of 436B that are still trickling to us. So because of that, there's a pretty constant stream, but I would say 1 to 2 to 3 a week. It's not a huge amount.
I mean, that's more than
Like,
what I see
license
for
applications, yeah.
APRN questions.
I mean, I might see, APRNs make sense. I see more because I see RNs.
Oh,
So,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
The volume wise, it's gonna be different.
Yeah, correct.
Just a week does sound like a lot.
So the proposal would be, who are we, is there a volunteer who would take on the delegation? I guess is the question. Because if nobody's willing to be delegated to, this is sort of a moot point, right?
Don't we also have incoming education?
Are they actually coming? Are they coming?
I
I don't know where they coming. I hope they are. But so potentially, so maybe we revisit this when we have a couple more
Just to
educators.
get like a temperature check if this is something the board thinks is necessary.
So temperature check for the EOs. How would you guys feel about that delegation? Sherry Shields Hansen has unmuted herself. I feel like I want to hear from you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think it expedites things and hopefully makes it easier. You don't have to look it up a month later when we're going over it again. It's fresh in your mind. So I think it's a great idea.
I agree.
Just for clarification, when that person reviews it, part of that is determining, oh, no, this should go to the whole board, or
Yes.
no, I can
Yes.
do this right now.
Yeah, I had a question like that for Sherry, I think back in February, right? Because I was hoping to catch her before she went on her travels, and I didn't want this applicant to wait till May for us to review their application, for the education committee to review the application. But it was one that I think Sherry would have deferred to the entire committee anyway. But the point still is that I think if she had the delegate authority, she might have felt more inclined to give a response.
And I think that's the other thing that I would point out is that the education committee meets every other month, right? So if we get an application, what is this month? I don't even know what month we're in.
May.
Yeah. So we're in an odd numbered month right now, right? So if we get an application, or we have a question about an application that has an education related component to it this month, not until July would the ed committee meet to be making a decision on that. So in terms of the closing the time frame in which we would be making decisions on these applications, I think that the delegation makes sense as a process improvement.
So you're currently the one for RNs and you're looking to transition that to another board member, is that?
No, we're talking specifically about questions related to education. So it could be, wait, actually, that's a great question, Darren. So we're talking about any application that has an education related questions regardless of license.
So then the existing 3 board members would be things like discipline, convictions,
Okay.
things outside of education.
Okay. Does that clarify your question? Does anybody want to get delegated to?
I'm fine doing it. And I like Amy's comment about if I feel more confident, with my findings and feel like the board is behind me, then I will feel more confident saying, no, the board doesn't need to say it is. But so I
Okay, so
agree
Sherry
with
has
that.
volunteered.
Yes. Long
Marvelous.
story short, yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to entertain a motion here in a minute, but I do want to take public testimony on this matter. Is there any? Fabulous. All right, then I would like to move to give Sherry Shields Hansen the delegation authority to review education-related questions on applications for licensure, LPN, RN, and APRN on behalf of the board. Is there a second?
I second.
Becca seconds the motion. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on the motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. That delegation is a go. Thank you very much, Sherry. We appreciate your assistance with that. All right, next agenda item.
Great, so I myself recently discovered that
I don't know what's gonna follow, but I'm excited.
that our advanced practice nurses, APRNs,
You just
and
learned.
practice registered nurses, missing a word here, APRNs, are not included in our nurses reports. So
Theo, can you give us some context for what you're talking about?
yes, so when we look at nurses, so for the public, they have access to nurses.com. For the board, we are a member of NCSBN, which gives us full access to the nurses database. And the nurses database is where every licensed nurse, including licenses that are no longer active, are housed in. So you can look up someone who might have retired 10 years ago, but the history of all the licenses are still in nurses. And this also includes disciplinary actions, denials, citations, any kind of warning that they had received on a license by another nursing regulatory board. And we do rely on nurses to review our applicants. Some states include, have RNs, LPNs, and APRNs included in their nurses access, but for some reason, Hawaii never did. So we only report on registered nurses and licensed practicing regular nurses, but not APRNs. And I think that needs to change because my theory as to why this is the case might be that our predecessors thought, well, in order to get an APRN license, you need to be an RN. So there's a dependent license. So if you're disciplined on one, that also affects your other licenses. But I don't necessarily agree with this because what if your disciplinary action was on an APRN's prescriptive authority, which is not tied to their RN license? So I just don't think that when people when other boards look up our nurses that they have quite a full picture without the APRNs being reported.
The other thing I will say in response to that is I've been to a handful now of meetings of NCSBN, and I have been asked on at least 3 separate occasions by NCSBN staff, so when is APRN gonna be a nurses? And I'm like, I don't know. That's not me. You're gonna talk to my executive officers about that. Don't you? So there is to the EO's point, there is request from other regulatory bodies who are looking for information, licensure information, disciplinary information on APRNs from Hawaii. And so hence NCSBN is requesting for Hawaii to incorporate its APRNs in there. So I guess my question to you in response to that, EO, is there some, I don't know, administrative or IT barrier that is precluded?
Clarifying question.
Yes, Derek?
For the APRNs that are in there in other states.
Yes.
Is it an APRN license or is it just their RN license?
I think it's everything.
It depends. I think it's 32 jurisdictions that report. We're not the only one that does that.
So we can voluntarily decide what we're participating in and not.
Correct. Yes. Yes. And I will say, not that this is an argument, but the reason I think ultimately is that we even joined nurses to begin with was because in anticipation of potentially joining the Nurse Licensure Compact, that's a requirement. So the APRN compact is out there in the universe, pending revision, et cetera. So if it were the case in some version where I'm not the chair of this board, we joined the APRN compact, this would inevitably be something we would have to do anyway. So just as a
One other thing.
heads up about that.
As a former APRN, Bradley's our current. There was some movement in Illinois at one time and at least one other state that to become initially licensed as an APRN in that state required the RN license. But
Yes.
once you sought relicensure, when you're re-upping, you no longer had to have that RN. Like, so an LPN who became an RN, you didn't have to keep your LPN to keep that. Most, if not all, I guess, still currently require you be an RN to be an APRN. But I know there's been conversation and movement. So my point with that is if that moves forward at some point, the question I have is why wouldn't we?
I hear you on that.
Especially since the Board of Nursing, at least now, continues to regulate, who gets licensed, those kind of things. So it makes sense to me. There may be different thoughts on that, but that's.
I can't imagine why we wouldn't. It's such a weird thing to me that we would be like, sure, you can have the
When
RN.
I read this, I didn't know APRNs were in it in other states because I've only ever seen.
RNs.
We only evaluate RNs. 'Cause
Right.
These LPNs were on that, but yeah.
So tell me more about what barriers we have to, so as a process, you need us to give you the thumbs up and then you guys have to fight with the IT situation?
Yeah,
Is that what's
basically,
going on?
we need full support of the board to back this. The way that our data gets transferred to nurses right now is that every 24 hours, our Salesforce Hawala system, which is the database for all PVL's licenses and licensees. So the nurse specific licenses, their data gets transferred over to nurses. So right now, it's as we were saying, it's just the RNs and LPNs, not the APRNs. And in order for that data to get transferred over, we do need our IT to do some things in the back end to include that in the data package.
Couple other questions. So what would be the work involved? What would be the cost involved? And what would be the timeline if we as a group say, yes, let's move forward and have all of Hawaii APRNs be part of nurses?
That's a good question.
Just the same question.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't think about any of those. I was like, that's a y'all problem.
I don't even want to estimate,
No,
but
we have like a singular IT staff that this would probably fall onto, and I know that she has 12,000 other things going on that would come out of
Probably
this.
literally.
Will we encounter any costs with NCBS?
Well, I mean, they constantly offer to give us another position, more money.
They want to give us money.
Yeah, resources. Yeah.
so that's another option.
Source in the eye.
Yeah, in the mouth or the eye.
Right, now, where do you get eye?
In any body part. Any reason that board members can think that we would not want to do this?
I think it also adds a layer of efficiency too, because we can look at that and know some things right away. Rather than they check a box here and then we ask questions, and some of them do better at detailing whatever the issues were. And there's also, I've read of cases where someone becomes an APRN and because their license was being investigated and there was no action against it at that point.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
the action happens after, but then they already have the APRN license, and depending on if those licenses are in the same state, whether they talk or not. So I think it adds another layer of safety. I think it adds a layer of efficiency, and I take this, why wouldn't we? But dependent on the IT resources we have or don't have to help
Yeah.
facilitate that.
Hold on, Jill unmuted herself, so I want to make sure that I hear from Jill.
Oh, this is Jill. I was just gonna say I would support it.
Awesome. Sorry, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I want to make sure the board was heard.
Yeah, so these are great questions. If you have any other questions for us, to send it our way. We'll look into it. We'll give you a timeline. And once we have all the information gathered, we'll report back at the next meeting.
Is y'all's decision on this contingent upon the answers to those questions?
So
So-
no more, but that's, if NCBSN is willing to give us money, does the state have the ability to hire like a contract worker to do that work rather than putting it on the IT person?
Explained it out.
12,000 things?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah. It would take forever because we
I
have.
was like,
send my admin
there's
up
the
to say
administrative
everything.
process and hiring within the state, which is its own separate barrier.
Yeah, this is something we also need to talk to higher ups about, because if we hire a contractor or a consultant to come in and fill this gap, they will see, private information that they have access to private information. So that's one of the concerns.
So if we give you a motion to go forth with adding APRNs to nurses, then you guys can like in good faith and earnestly go and pursue other, like all the administrative background stuff. Is that really what I'm hearing?
I mean, isn't it enough that they just verbally?
Are you good? You have the consensus of the board. The board has consensus, giving you consensus that we're good with it.
That's enough for me.
Okay, good. Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate the conversation, everybody. Did anybody want to provide testimony on that agenda item? Go team. Next.
Oh.
I was like, it's not me.
Okay, so this discussion, if you remember the last meeting, the board motioned to apply a blanket deferral policy pursuant to 168910 on the applicants with transcripts from the Operation Nightingale indicted schools. But
I was like, so help me, how are we having this conversation again? And then I read it again.
168910 is only for eligibility to take the NCLEX. It's not for licensure.
Yeah.
So we have some people that snuck in and have now passed the NCLEX. They were approved and passed and have an indicted transcript. So this is not just for those people, but anyone that's applying by endorsement and has an indicted school transcript. We can't really use that motion to defer them because the admin rule is specific to 8910.
Okay.
So really, My suggestion is just that we use a different statute or rule that's for licensure and not for the test.
Okay.
So we can stop them at that next step. But
Do you have a
otherwise,
suggestion for what statute we should be looking at?
so we could use 450-7A3, which requires written evidence that the applicant has completed a nursing program approved by the board. And we could say, well, the indicted schools are not.
Not approved by the board.
Approved by the board.
457.
7A3.
You have such boy handwriting. Such boy handwriting. 457. Wait, I can't find 457.
That would have been my thought anyway. So they have an NCLEX and they apply, or so they have passed the NCLEX.
Too far.
We still look at the rest of that being, including where their education comes from. And at that point, it's like, okay, you didn't graduate from the accredited. I don't know if we call them non-accredited or if we have another name for that group of schools. But that would be where we catch that. And you're saying that's already in
So
the rules.
In the past,
no, go ahead, yeah.
In the past, when these applicants successfully pass the NCLEX, and then we catch them afterwards, because, they might have been testing a dozen times before that, but then they finally pass and lands on our radar again. Then we have no choice but we can't take that score from them.
Yeah.
So in the past, what's happened is that we'll deny them the license, but they will still request to transfer that score to another state so they can get licensed there. So there are some folks out there who who applied by exam in Hawaii, didn't get licensed, but they could still use that passing score to get a license elsewhere.
And does this is Bradley, does this put a ding on their nurses?
Yeah, we treat our denials as disciplinary action.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the previous EOs were not consistent about putting in denials, put in 7 hours trying to catch up on all those right now.
Okay.
I didn't know that. Wait, okay, so I think I'm a little confused.
So right now, under 1689-10, because they passed their NCLEX and we can't take their score away, but they can take that passing score and take it to another state. We need to use 457.
7A.
783.
I think that's the wrong station.
Is it? No.
Yeah, that's what it was.
457, 7A3,
Yeah, it's.
written evidence that the applicant has completed a nursing education program approved by the board.
You're right. I was right.
You were right. Yay.
Changes now.
What happened?
Correct.
Don't look at the old laws. Yeah, don't do that. Wait, okay, so I think I'm confused. So we use 1689-10 as the basis to say that a person who's applied did not meet the minimum educational qualifications for licensure. We defer the application as per our protocol.
They did not meet the education requirements to test.
To test.
And it was only for registered nurses. 1689-11 is for LPNs.
So we can include in the motion and also 8911 for LPNs. It just needs to include everyone that has.
Well, okay, that's good, and also not my question. So my question is, does this give us the basis to deny a license?
Well, the board's position previously was to defer. not-
Correct?
So.
That's because they didn't meet the educational qualifications for licensure. Right? So, or to test, whatever the case may be, right? So, but that per our previous policies are released, so like for uneducated applicants, we don't deny them a license because they don't meet the educational qualifications. So I guess my question is, if we use 457-7A3, does that then somehow give us the basis for a denial?
I think it would be weird to deny if they're going by endorsement or defer if they're going by exam, because the basis is the same thing. It's just the transcript. So it's kind of the same reason inconsistently depending
We
on.
defer them indefinitely.
Well, we defer them until they can prove.
To
that
meet
they-
the educational requirements?
Whatever.
Going back to another school.
Yes.
Yeah, and usually their applications expire by then.
And a deferral is not a disciplinary.
That's correct.
Yes, sorry, I used the
That's
wrong.
specifically why we don't
Yes.
defer. That's specifically why we defer and not deny.
Yes, so what I should have said earlier was that our predecessors would defer the license even if they passed the NCLEX RN or PN.
So is your proposal that we change the basis for our decision on the deferrals?
We're just making new motion.
Okay.
In addition to the other motions so that we have LPNs and we have by endorsement. Because right now, the only people that were affected by the motion were RNs by
exam.
and that's it. Yeah.
This is essentially is just saying that they're deficient because they haven't provided the information. So that deficiency is going to continue until they cure it,
Yes.
and they're not going to be able to cure it. So at some point,
Let's go back to another.
the time they're going to time out.
You're talking about 168910 or 457?
But with this language here, this is just the basis, I think, for the deficiency now.
Okay. So a deficiency would give us the basis for denial or deferral?
Deferral.
Okay, just checking.
Because technically they could cure it.
Correct,
They could
okay.
correct it.
Sorry, I was like lost in the conversation. We're still talking about deferrals, only.
Sorry, yeah, I was the one who used the wrong word.
Successfully passing the NCLEX does not a nurse make, to use what may be a bad
Was it just
analogy.
me?
What?
Am I okay? Am I good? Are we good? Okay.
You get lost on your own path, but you find your way back.
Eventually, I have lots of shepherds.
For anybody who saw the show Suits, where they had that attorney who
Yes.
passed the bar exam but didn't go to law
Yeah.
school, it's kind of
Yeah.
like, not going to school
Thank you.
and or going to a school that does not
Correct.
meet accreditation requirements. So just because you passed the test, that's great. You're maybe a smart test taker, or you reviewed every NCLEX review book out there or whatever. I think we have somebody to discuss today who hasn't practiced in years but passed. But
Exactly.
that's not the only feature that makes someone a nurse who's ready to be licensed to practice safely.
Okay, so we are talking about a revising. We're just like, so is it, you want two motions, like one to rescind the previous like deferral delegation or the decision?
It's fine.
It's fine enough, but really, but ultimately, okay,
We need to include LPNs.
LPNs, RNs by exam and endorsement. And 457-7 still yet only applies to RNs though, right?
So that's why maybe it's better to do two motions if we want to do two
Fair.
citations. I don't know if it matters, but
I mean,
Would our motion here change 457-783?
we're using that to make the.
In addition to what was approved last time.
Can I ask for?
You can do whatever
a
you want.
revision? I think we also need to include APRNs. And the reason is because there are several schools that are accepting these fraudulent transcripts into APRN programs.
But then how would our deferral, our deferrals when,
Because they couldn't get the RN
yeah,
because they wouldn't meet the requirements, so they couldn't get the APR.
Okay.
but yeah, we if we want to, but we should include LPNs too, so that would be 457-8.
So let me question where you just said they're not gonna meet the RN.
It's happening.
So let's say they're in another state and that state,
I can see it.
that school let them in and they take their APRN exam and they're getting that license.
he's, that what he's saying.
Theoretically, an APRN then transfer by endorsement,
Here,
or
but
are we gonna catch, because they also need an RN and an APRN.
here, and then once
So
they
that
got
would
RN,
catch it.
Yeah, they would.
That's where they went to school. How do we handle other programs? Like there's, when a nursing program is new, you're not accredited for your first 2, 3, or 4 years. But then there's a process that says you can still, how do we handle that? Is it different than how we handle this?
Did they have what's that pre-accreditation called?
Yes, there.
Yeah, there's a word for it.
Sherry or.
Let's go with pre-accreditation for a moment.
Accreditation approval.
What's that?
I don't know.
Called approval.
There you go.
What did you say, Sherry?
It's just called state approval. I mean, the program has to put in there, like we're doing for Maui. You know, even though they're not accredited yet, we give them approval because they send in their their statement of what
As long as
everything
they're
they're
one of
doing.
those, that's
I
it.
think that's what you're asking, right, Darren?
Yeah, yep, that covers it.
Yeah, but even us as a state board can still provide provisional approval to a nursing program if we're still waiting for them to show evidence that they can be successful in training, educating nurses to practice safely.
What you're talking about, what I hear what you're saying though, like the graduate program, right? The graduate program that is the educational qualification for licensure for APRNs could have accepted transcripts from Scorley School. So you want to be very prudent about saying, oh no, if you have Scorley transcripts, that got you into your graduate program, we don't want that either. That's what
I
you're
think I need
talking
to
about.
verbally say to myself to make sure like, okay, we would catch it one way or the other, even though they're trying to just get here by endorsement of their AP.
Would we?
Because they have to have a Hawaii RN license.
I really love the emphatic response you just
We
gave me to that.
about this last meeting,
Okay.
remember, where we talked about like how they came from one school to another,
Yes.
and then maybe we weren't checking their previous like
Yeah.
RN.
Yeah, that was, I think that was an example that I was
Yeah.
just about to bring up again. We did have a case I looked at a few months ago, and it was all thanks to our licensing clerk who caught this. When she was doing the initial review of this application, this nurse was applying by endorsement. And as you know, when they apply by endorsement, we don't look at their educational background. And when even though on the application, there's an education field, a lot of these Nightingale programs were only associate's degrees.
Yes.
So what some of these transcript holders have done is they take those
Associates.
yeah, they take those associate degrees and enter a bachelor's program.
Right.
And that's what we saw with this one. And so if she didn't even put MetLife under education, she only put the 4-year bachelor's program on there. But the way that our licensing clerk caught it was that she was reviewing her nurse's report and saw that in one state that she had applied, she had supplied MetLife as the as her school to get the exam.
Okay. I mean,
But then if she did that, wouldn't the transcript say there was a transfer credit from another?
No, if she didn't transfer it.
So then how did she get MedLife? credit?
Oh, this is a really interesting conversation. She didn't use the MedLife credits to get into the RN to BSN program.
Is that what happened?
Yeah,
Because then she's good.
Then she's good.
She's fine.
yeah.
She's,
So then why do we?
yeah, that would be, she would be fine because she had a proper
Right.
bachelor's degree.
so devil's
Unless it
advocate.
wasn't
Yeah.
RN to BSN.
But yes, but I think that's Darren's case is that, what do we do with these folks who were transcript holders and passed their exam in a different state?
Yes, and with an example like this, right, the only way these Nightingale folks, when we defer their license, really the only chance they have to become an RN or get licensed is to go back to a nursing
Go to
school,
proper
accredited nursing school. But what prevents them from submitting just their BSN?
Yeah.
And we don't know differently. You don't
See
really,
the transfer credits.
what's that?
You see any transfer credits.
But
So when our-
only if they apply by exam, right? Are you
Well,
talking about-
no,
If they're doing
no.
endorsement and they have a BSN, do we even ask for their transcript
No.
on that?
Don't we?
We just show that they're a graduate of XYZ University and that they have a license in another.
Yeah.
So
Seems really inappropriate to not ask for the transcript at all. For
It's in our instructions.
It is in our instructions.
I didn't know that.
Yep, we're not there. It's not a
now
requirement.
you have your
to
work,
submit
figure that out by next.
Yeah, I mean, some RN by endorsement applications will supply their transcript. No,
Because-
Because
Just
let's
like
say
a thing,
I'm a
yeah.
graduate of the Nightingale. I didn't know I was being screwed over when all that happened. I am committed to being a nurse. What else do I need to do in the universe to become a nurse, right? They need to go to a different nursing program.
Mhm.
And so if they did get a license before the program, all that stuff was caught, and they're in a BSN program, they come out with a nursing degree and they have a nursing license. We don't ask any other BSN graduate, where did you do your prereqs? You might have gone to KCC for your prereqs and then went to UH Manoa or Chaminade or HPU and did your upper division and got your BSN, right? We don't ask all that detail.
No.
Correct.
So I guess the end of no process is perfect, maybe.
You just identified a crack in the system. You are correct, yes. Oh, Adrian is like, well, let's go change the law.
I'm not following.
They don't submit any transcript.
Oh, yes.
Potentially, someone could have gotten their initial nursing education in a Nightingale program,
Yeah.
right? Once they became aware, like, uh-oh, I'm not going to get anywhere with this.
Yes.
Entered a
Wouldn't
BSN
know.
program, graduated with their BSN, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and if
That's
they
like-
don't list any.
Okay, so I'm gonna, is there a way for us to, the only way that is actually a problem is if it's an RN to BSN program. Because if you did a regular pre-license BSN, there's no, I mean, you could potentially have done transfer credits.
But we may not know if it's an RN to BSN. Most universities grant the Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. It doesn't say RN to BSN on their.
You are not wrong about that on the transcript.
Doesn't our statutes say? it's
All
your
right,
de-
but one
What?
thing is if they've passed NCLEX, then that's what we have to use as the standard. Is that what you're asking? Even if they went to MetLife, if they passed NCLEX? and
Well,
got their
they-
BSN, we could endorse
But then they
them.
wouldn't fulfill their minimal educational
Correct.
requirements. So-
Yes, one filter, and I don't know how we'd catch this, is to identify when they passed NCLEX and when they got that Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree. Because if you got your Bachelor of Science in 2012, but you passed NCLEX in 2010, you obviously did something before your BSN.
Yes. And that's what happened in this case.
If there's a
Okay.
possibility to layer that piece in to close that little, but at the end of the day, we may not
I mean, okay, so that,
prevent all.
so we've gone afield of the delegation authority that the EOs are asking for, so I'm done with that. I think what we've identified here is that we have an amazing licensing branch who is doing a great job of catching squirrely stuff. I hope that they continue to do that. We don't have a provision to require transcripts from people who
Can I add
are.
one thing?
Yeah.
Don't the statutes say your degree comes from the accredited program? It doesn't say the totality of your transcript has to indicate that it's from an accredited program. But that school accepted those credits. They finished the school there and they gave them the degree.
It's almost like we have to take your word for it.
Have to.
If you guys were okay with it, we.
So then if we don't get the transcript, whatever they write on the application still asks for the school that they got their degree that shows they meet our statute. So we can't really.
Yes, and so I think this is one of those things. I know that the EOs in general, the boards of nursing across the country are like, oh, there's a bunch of schools who are willing to take squirrely transcripts from these Nightingale programs. And I think that there's like a broader issue within post-secondary ed nursing. From a regulatory perspective, I would agree with your read of the regulation.
Yeah,
We
we
would
have,
catch them then. Any person that doesn't meet our statute, we would catch. Because even if they mixed MetLife with UH or something.
Correct.
They technically, UH took it, so
They
they're
did.
fine.
Right, great.
Ugh, that sucks.
well, that's what Darren is saying too.
They're like, we know. Yes.
Are we not also holding up each one of these applications to the actual list of indicted persons?
Yes, always. So our licensing branch,
Yes.
they always
Right.
compare the application to the indicted list of
Yeah.
schools and people.
Right.
Yeah, but by exam,
Both. Isn't it both?
only if they get wind of the endorsement applicant having gone to a Nightingale school.
By looking at the indicted list, right?
Oh, you mean, are they comparing all the schools?
Yes, for every, no,
The
every
persons.
application. Is there a way that we're running every applicant's name against the indictment list?
They always do.
Okay.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So
That makes me feel better.
I got nothing for things we can't change because the law says what the law says. But we can solve this problem of
At least
our
if
delegation.
their school is listed as a Nightingale school, then at least we can do something.
We can flag that, yeah.
If their school is listed, but is there anything in our rules, I'm sure there is, and I'm sure it's what we talked about, where if their name is on that list, maybe their school, their transcripts have been hidden, absorbed by another program, but their name is on that
The
list.
name is enough for us to defer.
And we have a
Okay.
process to capture that.
Okay.
Yeah, we see this all the time where Nightingale transcript holders, whether they were licensed by us ever, or maybe we didn't even let them sit for the exam.
Yeah.
But because they can't get copies of their transcripts anymore. Yeah, because the schools are closed and Flora is not releasing that information to anyone. Like the transcripts. Yeah, like, like why issue or send out, fraudulent transcripts when we know they're fraudulent?
Right.
So what these former applicants would do is come to us with a UIPA request. Uniformed Information.
Practices Act.
Yes.
Yeah, of which we, by law, we have to supply that transcript if we still have access to it. And it doesn't take an unreasonable amount of time to find. Yeah, so what I've seen is that a lot of these, and then they have to tell us where to send this transcript to, this copy. And what we've seen is they go to another school, like University of Phoenix, and there was another one yesterday.
Post University.
Yeah,
What is it?
I don't even know.
Post University.
I've only recently heard of them.
Chamberlain is another one. That's another one we have to look into.
Do we tell them then when we're
Chamberlain's
sending,
pretty tight.
when we send this
Don't take my word for it,
application?
But they're,
No.
I believe
By
Chamberlain's
law,
in a
we
different
can't.
category than some of these other.
Becca, what was your question?
I said, when we're sending these transcripts out, are we notifying, hey, we're sending this transcript out,
To
but
a
we,
candidate.
yeah, or no, to the person or the school, hey, but these are fraudulent. They just can't get a hold of them and we only have them because they.
We just provided the document.
Yeah, the schools, just like it's up to the
They're up their
schools.
responsibility.
Yeah, just like it's up to the employer to hire someone with that educational background. When it comes to other boards, like, yes, you can do them a favor and give them heads up to say, hey, this person is trying to get endorsed in your state. We didn't license them, but they passed the exam here. Yeah, like that I've done.
Okay.
The network of executive officers across the country is really important. Okay, so can we talk about this delegation? Because, I mean, you guys are depressing me and there's nothing I can do about the law, so.
So we have 8910, which is
Okay.
RN by exam. We need RN by endorsement,
Okay.
LPN by exam, and LPN by endorsement. So
Okay.
3 more. I don't know if we want to do 3 separate motions or we can smush them together. Squish them.
Let's squish them together, but I need the rule for LPNs by exam.
8911.
168911.
And then 457-8.
A3 for PN endorsement. Or all, wait, doesn't that cover everybody?
No, 457-7 A3 are RNs.
Yeah.
And then 457-8 A
3.
1
3, what? A.
Then 457.
-8 A. Oh, sorry. No, it's
457.
B1, 457-8 B1.
450 for LPNs?
Is it E2?
That's an endorsement.
Is that what we want?
My dudes,
Because
Listen.
8911 is by.
yo. 457, 7A3 for registered nurses. That's the general licensing requirement regardless, right, of exam or endorsement. So my question is, do we still need to make reference to 168911? No need, right? Because it subsumes, does it not?
Oh yeah, we could do that for LPNs too. Nice.
Okay. You're picking up what I'm putting down?
Instead of 4 motions.
Yeah, okay, so for LPNs, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 457-8A3.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Oh my God, y'all, you're on timeout. All right, so I would, does anybody want to make this motion? I know you guys are gonna make.
I'm happy to do a so moved if somebody else wants it.
Oh my God. All right, so at this time, I would like to make a motion to delegate the deferral of applications for RNs and LPNs who have transcripts from schools identified in Operation Nightingale for failing to meet the written documentation of a completed education program. Is that what it says?
Yes.
Pursuant to 457, 7A3 for registered nurses and 457, 8A3 for LPNs.
This is Darren, I so moved.
That's a motion. Is there a second? I think I
Friendly
moved.
second.
You know what? We take a third and that's fine. Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves or abstain from voting on that motion? I forgot to ask for public testimony. Seeing that and the ayes have it, the motion carries. Does anybody want to provide testimony on this agenda item? I'm so sorry.
Public testimony.
Okay, yay! I'm done. I'm leaving now. Okay, are we good on that? That was a lot of fun, you guys. I lost my agenda. Okay,
Blame that, Carrie, blame that.
oh my God, I get a cookie for that. Agenda item number 7, legislative session. I don't like this agenda item.
I mean, we're pretty much done.
Yep.
We're done with the session.
Yeah.
Session
The
is
only thing I
over.
want to know is there's one new bill that wasn't on the list before.
Okay.
the SDR 59, which has passed. It's a resolution requesting that the governor establish procedures. It's related to what Hoy Anna was saying.
It's what Denise
about the
was talking
emergency
about.
proclamation. One thing I want to know is it's really closely related to SB 3192, which is like the binding version of the resolution, which didn't advance this session, but we didn't provide testimony on that or this one. So I just want to note that that wasn't something the board was able to do, but yeah, I don't know if the board has any comments on other bills. It's kind of too late, but I don't think.
Any discussion on any of the legislation?
I'll just add as a dissenter in this group that continuing to approve these proclamations also supports why we should be part of the Nurse Licensure Compact, but that's for another day and another year because it's not happening now.
I don't know the proclamation, I was gonna say, hey, mom, but.
To add to Darren's point though,
Let anybody, it's a walk, you become a walk-in.
Just
state.
roll up.
Right.
I know that. I roll
So
up.
that's what I'm saying. NLC would allow you to put some things in place that the
I
walk-in
feel-
state doesn't.
I feel you,
Just saying. Gotta keep making the noise every now and again.
as you should. Yes, you.
it's still worth just looking and reviewing the those that were on our list this year because they might carry over to next year or get reintroduced.
No carryover.
Oh, so.
Yeah, we're in the
That's
second year of the biennium, right? Okay.
Correct. Has to start all
NLC will
over.
likely come up again.
Yeah, well, just like the NLC though, it was introduced again this year, it just wasn't heard.
Wait,
What's
so do we
happening in
know-
other professions, we have to ask ourselves, what makes us special?
So do we know what this said? Did any of these bills pass?
The resolution passed.
Very few that impacted nursing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That list is not incredibly up to date.
I think the one, Laura didn't, the one
The big
that
bill?
charges you guys to come up with partnering with the labor folks and staffing and ratios and all that. That one
Or
went.
resolution now.
That's the resolution that I spoke to, that is a report that the Center for Nursing must do relate to developing a repository of safe staffing
Yeah,
standards.
okay. That did go through.
I will look at it. Potentially.
Okay, any discussion, comment for any public testimony? Okay, Peachy. We have arrived then at the agenda item related to applications. So as a reminder also yes, Darren?
We're going to that? Are we?
Going back to, no, we're gonna do that in executive session.
Oh, these are, sorry, never mind.
You guys good?
Yeah, we're going, remember we held six. so we're-
6B? Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Anything else?
I didn't realize you had every bill as a separate bill.
Yes,
Okay,
because
so now we're going back.
That's how it has to be.
Some people like to write to OIP about us not having complete agendas, and so we are addressing that. Okay, so we're gonna move to applications and discuss things that are confidential in nature and to confer with our attorney. So pursuant to HRS 92-4, 92-5, to consider and evaluate personal information relating to individuals applying for professional or vocational licenses, and to consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. I move to go into executive session. Is there a second?
Bradley, I'll second.
Does any board member vote no, recuse or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. We are in executive session, so yes.
That was good. That was good conversation.
I don't know.
We'll check the list.
I'm here to provide testimony. Oh, man, I totally forgot about asking for testimony on applications. Son of a- Actually, Bucaro.
Yeah, who, no.
Okay. Okay, good.
And there's
Thank you.
Or is that her? Is she on the list?
Sometimes a resolution adopted.
Don't we have to go back into open to vote on the
We
thing?
do.
Yeah, okay.
But we're gonna recess first and then come back and just finish the agenda.
Get off at exit 4, take a left, circle back, get on at exit 4. It's long.
Are we back in open?
Oh, there's more people now.
Let's just,
Oh, that's because we were in exec.
okay,
Really important. What's she doing there?
all right. Am I back?
Who's that?
Okay. So to deal with the chapter 91 matter, the board is now going to recess.
months last year.
Oh, we are back. We're back? We're back. Not in a long time. Okay, we are on agenda item number, I forget even now, where are we? Applications, agenda item number 8, we are on, does anybody want to provide testimony on agenda item number 8, applications for licensure? Magical. All right, at this time, I'd like to move to approve the ratification lists for LPN, RN, APRN, temporary licensure, and prescriptive authority as appended to the agenda for this meeting. Is there a second?
This is Bradley, I'll second.
Does any board member wish to vote no, recuse, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. All right, on the matter of application for, oh my God, I don't even remember what we said. Somebody help me make motions.
Yeah, I circled things. I think banks have it.
Is there a motion related to the application for Melissa Stokes?
Approved.
Was that a motion, Darren?
Oh, okay. I'm just telling you what you.
This is Bradley. I move to approve the application for Melissa Stokes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that a second, Darren?
It is.
Sarah, okay, does any board member wish to vote no, recuse themselves, or abstain from voting on that motion? Seeing none, hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion carries. On the matter of the application for Edna Moses, we are deferring the decision on this application for additional
Is
information.
that a motion?
No,
This is Darren. I move that we.
no, it's not a motion, I don't
We
need a
don't have
motion.
to. move.
I don't need a motion for deferral. You just defer. I like your enthusiasm though. On the matter of the application for Ashley Bucaro also being deferred. I'm gonna say, why do I? No, oh, great. Application for licensed practical nurse. Lisa Kim, is there a motion on that one?
Defer.
Oh, that's a deferral too, right?
Correct.
Okay,
For information.
we're deferring for additional information, the application for licensed practical nurse for Lisa Kim. Also during recess is a chapter 91, agenda item number 9 is the chapter 91 adjudicatory matter. In recess, the board voted to reject the settlement agreement with Sean Bannister. And that takes us to the last agenda item, which is a notice of our next meeting, which is currently scheduled for Thursday, June 4th. The EO is giving me a signal.
I was told that it should be canceled.
Okay.
Can we have more information?
Can we have more
I will
information?
be out of town from May 13th until after Labor Day, so I'll be back in office on May 26th. So
Labor
that
Day is in September, isn't it?
is Memorial Day.
Okay, I was like, what?
Memorial Day. So that leaves us with only 4 days to compile the packets and file with the LG's office, the Lieutenant Governor's office, to the public.
Question. Isn't this why we have a code?
There's the conference too.
What's that?
It's the CSBN conference also.
No, the EO summit, which is, yeah, we're leaving, but after.
So you both won't be.
Well,
No, no, no,
that
no.
happens after the
Yeah.
June meeting.
So the June meeting is scheduled for June 4th. Our EO summit is on June 9th and 10th.
So I have a question. I mean, I can't tell you what to do because I'm not your boss, obviously, but Jill's last meeting was today. No, we'll be in June, would be in June. So if we cancel the June meeting, we go to July with a vacancy. So we're one vacancy away from not making quorum in case of that. And if you guys, because of going to the EO summit, there's any risk of not being able to prepare an agenda in time for the July meeting, that runs the risk of a cancellation that's higher than 0 and higher than average. So if we have to cancel June for reasons unbeknownst actually, and then cancel July, then anybody we would be considering in June would be deferred now till August. And I'm a little bit concerned about that. So is the cancellation in June necessary? Is there a way to get around that, I guess?
Depends how heavy the agenda is. As of right now, I don't think we have anything.
Okay, so there's nothing, no content. Okay.
Could you guys also set a date maybe earlier than usual to say where applications that come after May 10th won't be considered in June or something like that? You don't have to answer.
I mean, administratively, we can just say that.
When it gets overruled, I withdraw the question.
Okay.
Questions? You talked about going into July with a vacancy. We currently have 2 vacancies.
We do, that's
So
what we
Jill
were.
leaving would be 3 vacancies.
That is correct.
And that would only leave 4 of us, right?
No, we,
The 5 of
Five,
us.
and we need 5 for quorum.
we need 5 for quorum, that will
Okay.
leave us with 6 members.
6, okay.
So we need 2 to be absent before we don't have a quorum. So I don't, unless that actually happens, which is incredibly unlikely, because Jill's one of our most common absences, actually. So there is that. So I don't think the likelihood is high. It's just something we are closer, one vacancy closer to not making quorum in any given meeting.
And some things you need 2/3, right, for.
Correct.
So you need everybody to show the vote.
Right.
Yeah, and the July meeting is on July 2nd, which is very close to the July 4th holiday. So some folks might be traveling
I won't be
and
here.
you won't be here.
Yeah, in July.
And July is also when we will have to do elections for chair and vice chair, especially vice chair, since Jill won't be here anymore. But I mean, the elections can be moved to August,
Right.
but that's just something else to consider.
Wait, so do we have an option to have a June meeting? I guess that's what you're telling us, that you've been told to cancel it. I'm trepidatious about that.
Suggested, not told, right?
No, they were told. They were told. So if you guys were told, then I don't know that I have any control over that, do I?
Well, the board sets the schedule for the meetings. We're responsible for announcing it to the
Listen,
public.
we have a schedule.
We've canceled 1 already this year.
Lack of quorum.
I'm not interested in canceling a meeting for no reason, if I'm honest. I'm disinclined. This is not anything.
Staffing.
So if it's a personnel issue, if it's a legitimate personnel issue, then I can't do anything about that anyway. You guys would end up canceling. But I don't know, here's the thing about staffing though, right? Is that, forgive me for being skeptical that you guys don't have the staffing necessary to put together an agenda for a June meeting. Because historically and currently, we've had 1 EO or we've had 2 EOs handling 13 boards. And so I don't understand why all of a sudden we can't put together an agenda for a meeting. This is confusing to me. So what is my option here?
Keep it on.
Okay.
And per sunshine law, we have up to a certain date. I don't remember what that is right now.
Yep.
To announce a cancellation if we do decide to cancel.
Okay.
But we don't have to decide right now.
Okay, so let's assume that we're gonna have a meeting until there's a legitimate actual personnel issue that would impede you guys putting together an agenda.
Well, right now we have 2 EOs. Everything is split between 2.
Yeah.
1 EO, me, is covering many other things at the same time. That's the
So
staffing.
you're not just ours, okay.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna cancel it whether I say anything or not anyway, so.
We bring it back and we say to, our supervisors, whatever the board feels for real reasons. We have very solid reasons why it makes the most sense to have a June meeting. I don't think the staffing reason is, if we can do virtual only, there are things we can do to make sure we have a June meeting. If that's imperative to the board functioning, keeping quorum, then I don't see it probably.
Darren, personally.
Additionally, the competency thing, which we need to revisit, we can just agree, let's revisit it in July or August. So that doesn't clog the June agenda. Let's just leave the June agenda to be ratifications, any issues brought forward between now and then, and just.
But then that leaves a very bare agenda, which is another.
Grounds for cancellation.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't, at the moment, I am not.
May result in a heavier agenda for July, which people may be traveling.
Correct. I am legitimately concerned about the possibility of a July meeting being canceled because of quorum.
Are we
That's more
able to
likely.
move July meeting?
To reschedule it?
Yeah.
That's
just
possible.
because
I don't know.
It is a really, it's like,
That's another option too. We can reschedule, but we still have to follow the same sunshine laws. That we need an appropriate amount of time to announce to the public.
So in light of the fact that the July meeting is currently scheduled in a way that is likely to result in absences and a failure to meet quorum and a necessary cancellation anyway, either we should have the June meeting so that we don't push anything off for 2 months unnecessarily, or reschedule the July meeting to mitigate any likely quorum related issues because of the holiday.
Alternatively, reschedule the June meeting later after your EO summit. And then we just make a plan to cancel July because it's so close to the holiday,
Sure.
which is just the opposite of.
Sure, that's, I think, also a viable option. So the point is, can we maneuver scheduling to make it so that we're not having 2 months between meetings potentially? Okay.
Do that too.
I may have missed it, but somebody mentioned ratifications. Did you folks do that? Okay.
Thank you.
I will also say PBLs, what we've been hearing is they don't run them monthly. meetings. They want to switch to.
So did you guys know?
In charge.
Did you guys know that the board of, did you guys know that the Board of Nursing is the largest board in all of PVL? It accounts for 27% of all licenses, all licenses. The next three boards combined account for the same proportion of licenses in PVL as nursing. So
Wait,
the
hold on.
expectation of consistency between boards on the basis of the fact that we're all boards is unjustified on the basis of the fact that our workload is extraordinarily higher than any other board.
We have good mechanisms too for limiting it because we have delegation.
Correct.
Even with that, it's a good amount of.
I'm just saying, I'm
I was
not,
told to expect a monthly meeting for.
you are, that's my point is, the consistency with other boards not meeting frequently is, super not interesting to me. I am done with the agenda for today. Anything else from anybody? We will keep,
Two
we
quick
will.
things. On that, if you guys want to collaborate and email us to let us know, we'll reschedule June.
Yeah, you guys have to do
July.
this. That's a
Just let us
step.
know so we can plan life too.
Yes.
And then secondarily, are either of you or any of you aware of any potential candidates in the pipeline?
Carrie, I'm gonna take off for about 10 minutes. I'll be right
Yes.
back for easy, okay?
Sure, yes.
Because I know it was a 6-month process from applying
Oh, yeah.
to the first level back, then Senate, then all the different, layers of
There's two,
approval.
right?
And then I had to defer 1 month because of.
Darren, I'm interrupting you
Okay, that's all
because
right.
you're over explaining and the EO has an answer to the question.
That's all.
There's two. Okay, so, but the process, we don't have any control over that, right? That's entirely, yeah, we can, all we can do is hassle
But
people.
we know they're coming in August or September and we have to defer.
I don't
then
think
can
that
say-
I don't think we do know that though. So there are candidates who have applied, but as far as how soon they would land on the board, we have no way of knowing that. So there's that. I'm done. We are adjourned. Go team. Goodbye. Thank you.